Center for Spiritual Living. So let's stand and sing our opening song, My Soul is Welcome Here. Okay, it's wonderful to see you all here. Genesis is a community dedicated to love, inspiring harmony, and creating connections to empower spiritual growth. And we love that you're here to share it with us. And my name is Randy Singer.
Yay, Randy Singer!
Randy. Okay, and our online host today is Cal. So if this is your first time visiting online, please comment on how you found Genesis in the comments section. So now we have an opportunity to read with me our mission and vision statements. All right, our mission. We are building a vibrant community, cultivating a garden of spiritual growth, honoring vulnerability, creating a safe place of comfort and peace where all are welcome and accepted. Now the vision statement. Genesis is a bright beacon with an unshakable heart of love, accepting all
a home for the soul, where we each creatively express our spiritual brilliance.
Sounds like we got two different things. Okay. All right, announcements. A terrible death to die. Let's go. All right, number one, we have a new minister, Reverend James Tierney, who'll be starting September 24th. And stay for Reverend Eric's party. All right. So Monday, 9/18, September 18th, Healers and Hunters Men's Group from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Join Dave Pennick, practitioner, and Jim Monson for a Genesis Men's Group. Genesis Men's Group is a place where men get together, connect with each other, and share what is going on in their lives. For more info, reach out to Dave Pennick at davepennick01@gmail.com, or just talk to him. Okay, he's here. Registration is now open for Beyond Limits. This is exciting. We got a class coming up. The class will be held on Thursday evenings from 7 p.m. starting on September 28th. We will meet in person at the Northern Lights CSL and also on Zoom. The class is facilitated by spiritual practitioner Christine S. Young. The tuition is $295. If cost is an obstacle, talk to Cal Boyle to discuss options. To register for class, visit our website, genesiscsl.org. Click on the Learning Opportunities tab or connect with Christine S. or Gideon. All right, beginning on September 24th after service from 12 to 1, Karen L. Williams will be starting a book study with the book, The Universal Christ by Richard Rohr. We can process what we read together. Right after fellowship, it's a drop-in and it's free. All right, facebook.com/Karen L. Williams. All right, number 5, Wednesday, Intention Circles from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. via Zoom. Karen Williams and Cynthia Zink, both practitioners, will be leading an Intention Circle. And number 6, the Science of Mind textbook in a year. Practitioner Karen Williams is following a guide to read the entire Science of Mind textbook in 1 year. Every day you will find posted on her Facebook page, Karen L. Williams, RSCP, and the Genesis family page. Follow along to get all of the Ernest Holmes teachings, or at least the ones that are in that book, because there's a lot. Okay. So let's take this time to stand and take a moment to greet each other on the side of you for about 2 minutes. A nice meet and greet. We'd love to meet you and learn how you heard about Genesis.
You know I care.
Is anyone comfortable with standing and introducing themselves? All right, well, that's cool. Do we have new guests online to introduce?
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we do. Someone that just moved here from California.
All right, we got a Californian. Kristen Lee from California. All right. Okay, so we're glad everyone's here today, family and new friends, and anyone too shy to say that, and that's cool. If you'd like to be more information about Genesis, you can visit our website, genesiscsl.org, or talk with our greeter, Cynthia.
Yay, Cynthia.
Yay, Cynthia. All right, does anyone need a prayer card or an envelope? For our online community, prayer requests can be submitted to our website, genesiscsl.org. So just raise your hand and we'll get those distributed to you. Looks like Reverend Rose is passing those out. Okay, so volunteers. I've got them right here. I want to take time to thank everyone who's in service today. So we have our morning greeter, Cynthia. We've got the projector and the video. We've got Mike and Eric back there. We've got Gideon doing the offering collection. On sound, we've got Soren. Online host is Cal. And our service practitioner is Reverend James. So we're grateful for these volunteers that show up and put together. And if you're interested in adding on to that or becoming a volunteer yourself, check in with Cynthia or anyone else who looks like they know what they're doing. And we'll get you connected with opportunities to be of service, because ultimately we bring this together. This is a community set up by us, so we can do it. All right, so our in-service practitioner today is Reverend James. And so if you need a prayer tune-up or anything like that, he'll be available after service. And so now, let's stand and sing our centering song, Out Beyond.
No, we got a new one.
We got a different one. Here we go.
We have a new one. This is called We Are Building a Greater Good. I'm going to go over it once, and then you guys can join in the second time. And the third time, he's going to do a solo. So we'll get to hear that. And then we'll do it 2 more times like the others. Okay. Feel free to stand if you're able. We are building our greater good. Building in consciousness and neighborhood. We are praying together just like we should. We are building our greater good. We are building our greater good. We are building our greater good. Building in consciousness and neighborhood. We are praying together just like we should. We are building our greater good. We are building our greater good. Our greater good. Building in consciousness and neighborhood. We are praying together just like we should. We are building our greater good. We are building our greater good.
Okay.
it's nice. You guys have such, this is a spiritual quality gong. So it's nice when you listen to the sound of a gong. It's because the sound is nonlinear. It gives your brain something, your logical brain, something to do, and it also tunes into your feelings. And so it's really good for meditation. Your brain is happy to follow it, and yet doesn't have anything to follow, and so it's always in wonder. What's happening next? What's happening next? So that's why gongs have been popular for thousands of years in spiritual circles. And so it's so wonderful that you have such a high quality one. So I want to bring you guys on a brief heart-centered quest. So my inspirational reading will be a reading of ourselves. So I'm going to ask you to take a deep inhalation and exhale. And first, let's bring our attention to our hands. What do your hands feel like? Are they warm? Are they cool? Are they tingling? Do you feel a breeze? What's going on with your hands? And now let's move your awareness to your feet. Can you feel pressure on your feet? Do they feel grounded? How is the temperature on your feet? Are they comfortable right where they are? And now let's move our awareness into our hearts. And what I'd like you to do is create a feeling of gratitude in your heart. The heart is the organ of spiritual vision. So it's how we see everyone's spirit. So for gratitude, often it helps to picture a beloved pet or a family member or friends, or even this wonderful church congregation and this beautiful gong. So now that's the feeling of gratitude. And we want to open into it and notice how quickly it fills the heart. And as you let it fill the heart, it overflows and fills the body. And our bodies rapidly become filled with love, with gratitude, with light, with ease. And now that gratitude radiates out and connects with everyone in this room and everyone at home. And it's beyond time and space, that feeling of gratitude. We know because we can feel it. It's the same as it ever was. And so just allow yourself to lay back in that gratitude. Feel it bubbling forth from you, shooting forth from you, radiating from you. And notice how it also radiates into you. We are the beloved and the loving. And as we relax into this gratitude, this love, this ease, we know that when we see the world with eyes of love, from the view of our hearts, our organ of spiritual vision, this is the true view of the world. There are all kinds of ways of looking at the world, but when you see it through the heart, you see it the way Spirit sees it. You see it from the point of view of oneness of us all. And so whenever you're ready, let's just take a deep breath into our hearts and exhale. And you can open your eyes. I will introduce our musicians. We have Jal, who accompanied me so ably. And Chris Sullivan, who we all know. And Nathaniel Schleimer did that beautiful solo and really brings completion to our wonderful trio of musicians. And now...
No, they got a song.
They have a song. All right. Good. Someone's reading the script.
Does anybody else get really moved by that? That's the deal. Life is great, and everything in it. Oh my God! So, if for anyone who is just here for the first time, this is a special day because the congregation is communities in transition. This is my last Sunday. It's James' first welcoming Sunday. And also, this is the 4th week in a 4-week talk series that I have been doing on the history of New Thought. And so we started out, New Thought really started in the 1850s, and we went through that generation. Then the next week we talked about people in the late 1800s, then the first half of the 20th century, and now we're covering from about 1960 to the present. So we got a lot to cover. So we're going to start. And I have been focusing on people because I love the stories of different people who have been leaders in New Thought and sort of how has their life gone. So it isn't just a So we're going to start today with Michael Bernard Beckwith. There he is.
I know that.
And he was born in 1956, and he grew up in Southern California, and he was raised a Methodist but was non-practicing. And as a young man, he was arrested on a drug charge. And while in jail, he had a mystical experience. You're going to find, as I talk about several people today, that often a person, the person I'm talking about, had a crisis in their life. And that's what brought them to spirituality. So he was in jail, had a mystical experience, and it was like I could go this way or I could go this way. And he decided to go this way into exploring spirituality. And he was released from jail without being charged. Everybody take a deep breath. There is always an easier way. He graduated from the Holmes Institute of Ministry, School of Ministry as it was called then, in 1985. And this is what's interesting, or among many interesting things about Michael Beckwith. He applied to be a senior minister at a CSL in Orange County, but the interviewing panel rejected him because he was black. Poor pity them. Bad idea. And he went on to found Agape International Spiritual Center in Culver City, California, and grew a congregation of 10,000 people. And it was really a co-ministry, next slide, with Ricky Byers. And Ricky Byers, you know what her story is, she was trying to make it in the music business and somehow found out or was invited to do music one day, and Michael latched onto her and brought her in. And she was extremely skeptical of religion. She was very skeptical of ministers and was real iffy about church and organized religion. So it took her a long time to kind of warm up to the circumstance. And of course, you know, throughout Unity and religious science, everybody knows Ricky's music. And what is ironic is often the words of the ministers are lost over time. It's the music that survives. Right. We only know about the spirituality of the time of Johann Sebastian Bach because of his music. Nobody knows a word of what any of those ministers preached. It's humbling. Okay. And the next slide, please. That's them together. They eventually married, had 4 children and 6 grandchildren. And the next slide. This is what it was like when they were in Culver City from the congregation. And I had a few occasions to be able to worship there. And you don't have the experience very often in America of being in a room where it's 50 white, 50 black. And that is a great and healing experience. And what I wish for every white person in America is that at some point you find yourself in a room with hundreds of black people and you're the only white person. Because anyone who says they don't see color, you will see color so fast. Someday go to a black church where there's like one golden raisin in the room or one white chocolate, and you will be very aware of race. And that is a very instructive experience that I've had. And it was a wonderful thing. Michael wrote several books, next slide, including Spiritual Liberation. He's appeared on Oprah, Larry King. He had his own PBS special, and in 1999 was inducted into the leadership of the Parliament of World Religions. And the Parliament of World Religions is this organization where all these different religious leaders come together, religious leaders who believe in the ecumenical dream that religion would unite us and not divide us. What a concept. And he co-founded, this is the other thing that's important about him, he co-founded the Association of Global New Thought in 2003, and it's an alliance of science of mind, unity, and independent new thought communities. So he's quite the mover and shaker, and he goes all over the world speaking at the UN and conferences. He has a huge global, he really is a global entity. He created, and the thing that you should know about him in terms of our day-to-day spirituality or our life in community, he created this unique visioning process. And this visioning process, which essentially, if you are at a place where you're seeking divine guidance, your most important question is, what is Spirit's idea for this? Get your ideas out of the way completely and allow yourself to receive the divine idea. What must I be to fulfill this? What must I release to fulfill this divine idea? What is the divine idea? And this visioning process is used by Centers for Spiritual Living, our denomination. It was used to create the joining together of the two sects in 2011. The visioning process is used throughout the organization, and it has been used here and was used as part of the process of manifesting James. So, thank you, Michael Beckwith. The next person I want to talk about is Louise Hay. She was born in 1926 and died in 2017, so she lived to be 90. Have you all been noticing that all these leaders live to have long lives? Her childhood was unstable and impoverished, and in her teen years were marked by abuse. She ran away from home and ended up in New York City, where she became a fashion model and married a prosperous businessman. And although it appeared that her life had turned around, it was not until the marriage ended after 14 years that her healing really began. Louise started what would become her life's work in 1970. She attended meetings of the Church of Religious Science there and began training as a minister. She became a popular speaker at the church and soon found herself counseling clients. This work quickly blossomed into a full-time career. So she discovered herself as a spiritual counselor. And she compiled a reference guide detailing the mental causes of physical ailments. Sound familiar? Quimby, Eddie, Emma Curtis Hopkins, Ernest Holmes, mental causes of physical illnesses. And doctors say that 97% of illnesses are psychosomatic, meaning, okay? Not that there aren't real things and accidents are real and microbes are real, but, to the degree that we could heal ourselves, that would be good, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And she developed positive thought patterns for reversing illnesses and creating health. And this compilation was the basis for her book, Heal Your Body. I don't think I have a slide for that. And this book approaches physical maladies with change consciousness. If you're having eye trouble, you might ask yourself, what am I not seeing? If you have cancer, many people who have been healed or been through the cancer process will say, my self-loathing created the cervical cancer. My unforgiveness of my abuser caused or has a factor in the breast cancer. It's like there is a relationship. It isn't the only thing. She's not saying don't use medicine or doctors, but there is a spiritual component to our physical illnesses. And she wrote a whole book about it. And when the AIDS crisis arose in the early 80s, she said there was a difference between a cure, or becoming AIDS-free, and a healing, which is releasing the self-loathing of homophobia. And there was controversy about that because people interpreted her to say, you know, homophobia caused AIDS. And what she was saying was, you can get rid of the AIDS, but there is a problem in our society, and it is the hatred of certain kinds of people. And that, I think, was fair. And she created a loving and non-judgmental space for young gay men who had contracted the disease. I can't include everyone that's important to the unfolding of New Thought. This is a brief history, but I have to, huh? Yes, you can. No, I can't. I'm not going to keep you all here for hours. And you will be grateful, because those chairs aren't as comfortable as we'd like them to be. Okay, so the next slide is my beloved Edwene Gaines. I totally adore her. I've had the chance to be on retreats with her. I've heard her speak many, many times. I just, you know, mwah, love her to pieces. Curiously, you cannot find out when she was born. As a Southern lady, I think she's kept that under wraps, but I believe she's in her 80s. She became a unity minister in 1979, and the major focus of her ministry, as with Ernest Holmes. Remember, Ernest Holmes grew up dirt poor in rural Maine. She grew up very poor in Texas, single mom, like struggling to even keep food on the table. And her ministry, as by her own, as she said many times, is to transform the prosperity consciousness of planet Earth. That's her ministry. That's how big it is. She says, I want you, whenever she starts her talk, she says, I want you to know I'm a woman of power, and I am here to transform the prosperity consciousness of planet Earth. And I don't have a clue as to how to do that. So I must always be listening for guidance. Smart. Smart. Okay? She used spiritual practices to lift herself out of hand-to-mouth poverty as a single mother in Alabama. And this book, if you have any shortcoming, any issues about money or prosperity, let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that is the book. It's a little book, and there's 4 laws. And if you read the book and do what she tells you to do, you will have no issues with prosperity, because she knows what she's, and it's wonderful. It's the best kind of spiritual book, because there's the teaching, and then there's fabulous stories of people doing the work and getting the results, which is extremely inspiring, and her stories are hilarious. She is so funny. And although she has led congregations, her ministry, her main project was traveling around the country. She's a unity minister. She became a unity minister, and she speaks at unity and CSL congregations and gives workshops. And I credit her because she's the person that really overcame all my objections to tithing. I'm a strict tither. 10% of my gross income, not net. Everybody take a deep breath. Gross. 10% of my gross income before taxes.
Yeah.
And I'm financially free, never have to have a job. Everybody take a deep breath, don't hate me.
It's your birthday.
Yeah, it's my birthday. And she also, through one of her workshops, I was inspired to get a prayer partner. I always have a prayer partner. I have a fabulous life. My prayer partners, every prayer partner I've ever had has a fabulous life. And I can go on and on and on and on about the miracle demonstrations. So get a prayer partner. You'll have a great life. I will just briefly mention Eric Butterworth, who wrote Spiritual Economics. Emily Cady, who wrote the important Unity Text Lessons in Truth. She was a student of Emma Curtis Hopkins. And Emmett Fox, who wrote many great books, including a wonderful New Thought interpretation of the Sermon of the Mount, which is very dear to Michael. And now I'm going to focus on another New Thought minister, and that is Johnny Coleman. This is Johnny Coleman, who I had not heard of. And she was born in 1920. She lived to 2014. She was 92. You're getting a theme? Johnny Coleman was diagnosed with an incurable disease causing her to have a crisis of faith. I want you to know that every time something really troublesome happens in your life, it is an opening. You are broken. and you are broken open. You're broken open by fear. You're broken open by the unknowingness. You're broken open by the pain. You're broken open by the rug being pulled out from under your feet, or your heart being broken. And that is an opening for an influx of spiritual truth. No crisis that you have ever faced has been to break you down. It's been to break you open for love, open for truth, open for healing. So with this crisis of faith, she decided to attend the Unity School of Christianity. And last week we saw the pictures of the campus, right, near Kansas, outside of Kansas City, Missouri. Now, here's the interesting thing. At the time, the campus, this was in the 50s, the campus was racially segregated. And she was not permitted to live on campus like all the other Unity ministerial students. Now, I mentioned last week, Unity Village is like the Vatican of the Unity movement. And it was, I think it's changed a little bit more recently, but it has been that if you want to become a minister, you have to go to Unity Village and you have to live there for 2 years. That's a wrinkle of their thing. It's like if you want to be a Catholic priest, the equivalent would be you have to live in the Vatican while you're training. So she was the third black student at Unity Village and had to commute from Kansas City every day. And what I want us to be aware of is that I mentioned that our New Thought teaching is an American religion. It's wholly and completely invented, created by Americans. And that gets all the good and all the not so good about American culture. Right? Makes sense. And that's why most of our congregations are segregated. There are black New Thought congregations. And that was what was so unique about Agape, because it was 50% white, 50%, or roughly 50-50, and it was something deeply healing to me as an American to be in that environment, and it was really unique and signature. Okay, she went on to found a mega church in Chicago called Christ Universal Temple, and we have a picture of the outside. This is a black woman in Chicago created that, and this is the inside. Okay? And this is that thing where the Spirit does not know our limitations. Everybody take a deep breath. You, being human, have a consciousness that has limitations. But the soul, the spirit that you are, has no limitations. None. Hallelujah. Okay. Now I want to focus on, so these are some signature people in the New Thought movement in more recent history. I want to focus on certain ways in which New Thought teachings have found their way into popular culture. So this is our, we may not, Unity and Science of Mind may not be huge in terms of numbers, but the influence of New Thought teachings in American culture and thereby the world are vast. Got it? You know that thing where they say 1,000 monkeys, if we had 1,000 people who could do something? Well, the smaller number of New Thought people, our teachings resonate throughout the culture and the world. So I want to start with Norman Vincent Peale, The Power of Positive Thinking. He lived to be 95. Protestant minister, famous for publishing this in 1952. Not only that, but he demonstrates the fact that not all people involved in New Thought are politically progressive. He favored Nixon over Kennedy in 1962, saying that the election of a Catholic would jeopardize American culture. Isn't that great? We're not all leftists. He was very popular with Ronald Reagan, who gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. That's the highest award that can be given a civilian. And he was great friends with and greatly influenced Donald Trump. Isn't that great? I wanted you all to know that. And periodically, this idea of new thought, of positive thinking, breaks out in our culture, generation after generation. And the argument against it is that it leads to selfishness and narcissism. And all I want to say there is every quality has a bright side and a dark side, right? And there are people for whom they need positive thinking. And then there are people for whom some negative thinking would be useful. Some negative self-examination would be very, very useful. Okay, next slide. Rhonda Byrne and The Secret. She was born in 1951 in Melbourne, Australia, and worked as an executive producer for television. After the death of her father in 2004, Byrne became very depressed. Are you getting the theme? Spiritual crisis. At the instigation of her daughter Haley, she read The Science of Getting Rich, a New Thought text published in 1910 by Wallace D. Wattles. Who besides me has read that? You want to be rich? There's the thing. And she began to work on The Secret. And the main focus of the book is what is called the law of attraction, which is what you think about repeatedly, positively, and with passion tends to manifest. So these are the three qualities. People get exposed to new thought in a superficial way, and they think, oh, well, I want a red Jeep, so I'll just think I want a red Jeep, and then I'll have a red Jeep. No. That is not the whole story. You have to think the thought repeatedly. You have to send the energy. When that satellite sends the pictures of Pluto all the way to NASA, repeatedly. You have to think it repeatedly. You have to think it positively. You can't go, well, I'd like a red Jeep, and the law of attraction says I'll have the red Jeep, but I don't really believe in the law of attraction. Are you going to get a red Jeep? No. Hell no. Because with every thought of the red Jeep, what you're reinforcing is that you won't get one. And so you have to think it repeatedly, positively, and you have to care. You have to want it. It has to be something. It's just like, oh, I think I'd like to be a green Martian. Right? It's got to be something that has your heart engaged. The book, The Secret, has been translated into 50 languages and has sold over 30 million copies. And that was as of 2009. Due partly to an appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show, the book and a film called The Secret had grossed $300 million by 2009, and she subsequently released other books. Oprah Winfrey loved the book, the material. I know that she lived by the law of attraction, right? Look how successful. I think the most successful entertainer in American history is Oprah, I believe. On the Larry King Show, she said that the message of The Secret is the message she's been trying to share with the world on her show for the past 21 years. Remember how much people loved Oprah and the Oprah Show? Mm-hmm. And her message was the law of attraction. Very interesting. You can't get more pervasive in American culture than Oprah for 21 years, right? Okay. Attention to the book instigated a backlash again because people are suspicious of this idea that you can just think something and make it happen. And people who are suspicious of the idea that you could think something and make it happen will not think of something and make it happen. Because what you believe is what you get. It's not what you want, it's what you believe. Okay, and now we're going to look at the relationship between New Thought and modern Christianity, and I have 3 or 4 people that I want to, I have 4 people. How are we doing? Everybody doing okay? Yeah. Okay, great. The first is Joel Osteen. He was born in 1963. Now, he is a very, very interesting case. He's an American lay preacher. But what do we mean by lay preacher? He did not go to school and get ordained by some denomination. That was what's meant by a lay preacher. He's of that vast field of Christian people who become ministers because they have a congregation. That's what makes him a minister. He is a televangelist, a businessman, and an author based in Houston, Texas, and known for his weekly televised services and several best-selling books. And he's one of the most prominent figures associated with what is called prosperity theology, and that is the focus of his critics. Everybody's got a critic. He's got a critic. He has people who says Jesus was about give away everything you have to the poor. You should not be rich. I was going to include in this slideshow his mansion, and it's several very big buildings. It's totally jaw-dropping how big his house is. And his story is one of 6 children of a preacher named John Osteen who founded Lakewood Church in Houston, Texas. Now, Joel went to college at one of those, I think, Oral Roberts University or something like that, and he went to study television production. And then he created a television ministry for his father, which he directed for 17 years. So it was 17 years he served his father's ministry and saw his father preach, saw his father's example. When his father started out, he was the door-to-door preacher, right? Built a big church for that day, and Joel went with him and watched his father, closely, and saw his true Christian nature, and observed him preach for 17 years. And then his father died, and in January 17th, 1999, Osteen preached his first sermon, and by October, he had been installed as the new senior pastor. And in 2003, Lakewood Church acquired the Compaq Center, the former home of the NBA Houston Rockets, and renovated it as a church. That's the stage, and that's... Their Sunday attendance is 45,000 people. Okay? Biggest church in the country. And the thing that, and I have several of his books, I have watched his sermons, and it's total new thought. It's total new thought. Everything is new thought. God is good. You are good. That is your essential nature. You can create it. You can conceive it. You can produce it. It's like, and then he says, and Jesus. New thought and Jesus. He memorizes his planned remarks before he delivers them and then listens back to previous ones on tape. So he is very professional and serious about his sermonizing. And Osteen, he's been criticized by many, a lot of people who I'm sure are totally jealous. Everybody's a critic. But here's what I want to say. And I've seen him be challenged by more other conservative Christian ministers. And he is so elegant and exquisite in the way he responds. And he says, he has chosen to focus, because there are people who are saying, you are cheating your congregation if you don't warn them about the devil and hell. Right? I mean, that is a belief. And there are people who need to be terrified and terrorized by the concept of the devil and hell to do the right thing. That is a legitimate path. It's not my path. It's probably not your path, or you wouldn't be sitting here. But it is a legitimate path for the people who need to be scared into doing the right thing. Just say it. Okay. He says he chooses to focus more on the goodness of God and living an obedient life rather than on sin. And sin just means mistake. And he tries to teach biblical principles in a simple way, emphasizing the power of love and a positive attitude. When he asked why he does not focus more on sin, the devil, and hell in detail, he said, when I grew up, the devil was a reason why I had a headache, or the devil was the reason I got mad today. We always blame the devil. I think today when I say the enemy, I like to make it broader. Sometimes the enemy can be our own thoughts. Hello. We've trained ourselves the wrong way, or the enemy can be our own lack of discipline. Some people preach about hell like you're already going there. And to me, the gospel means good news. I'd rather say God is a God of mercy. So I think the people already know what they're doing wrong, and I certainly believe in hell. But to me, when I see thousands of people before me, it just doesn't come out of me to say, you guys are terrible and you're going to hell. He's very cheerful. He's very positive. He's very cheerful and positive. I'd rather say that God is a God of mercy. You've got to live an obedient life, but for every mistake you've made, there's a mercy there, and I believe we can do better. Okay? And so there you go. I don't know if that would work for me. I love Sunday worship. I don't know about that. Okay. I like a crowd, but I don't know. Finally, and I want to just mention one other person since we seem to be doing okay. There's another conservative modern minister who I am a fan of, and that is Joyce Meyer. And Joyce Meyer is interesting. Her big thing is the battlefield of the mind. I don't have a picture of her. She's in her probably 80s now, and she was sexually abused by her father, and she overcame it. She forgave him and reconciled with him, and that is at the basis of her ministry. But her big series, her signature series, is the battlefield of the mind. And she talks a lot about that. You have to tune out all the devil and hell stuff. She has a lot of that, more than Joel, certainly. But I do like her, and I have some of her books, and I have several Joel Osteen books. But at a certain point, it's too Christian for me. So, there's that. Okay, now I want to focus, the last two people I want to focus on, and then we're going to talk about you, is the first is Carlton Pearson. And he was born in 1953. Now, what's interesting about him is he began his career as a very traditional conservative minister and gospel music artist. And at one time, he was the pastor of the Higher Dimensions Evangelistic Center, later named Higher Dimensions Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And during the 1990s, it grew to an attendance of 6,000 a Sunday. He was much beloved by Oral Roberts, and Oral Roberts would say, "This is my adopted son and my heir apparent." And the plan was that he was going to take over for Oral Roberts. Not a small thing. He founded a hugely successful annual revival called the Azusa Convention that was huge in the Pentecostal movement. He was a Pentecostal minister. And he had one of the most watched programs on the Trinity Broadcast Network. One night, while watching a TV broadcast on the Rwandan massacre, he had a crisis of faith. Sound familiar? He was watching a broadcast on the Rwandan massacre and asked himself, what do I believe? What is true? And he felt that it's we human beings that create hell on earth. It's not God that creates a hell in an afterlife. It's we ourselves that create the hell. He's looking at the Rwandan massacre. And hell is not something established by a loving God. So he began preaching these new thought beliefs, such as that all religions are valid. And God is loving, not judgmental, and Jesus is not the only way. And his beliefs are outlined in this wonderful book, The Gospel of Inclusion. Let's go back. Okay, due to his stated belief in universal reconciliation. So what is universal reconciliation? This means that we will all return to the Godhead. That we are eternal souls, and we will all make our way back to the source. No one is going to stay in hell forever. Make sense? Yeah. God loves you, but he'll send you to hell forever. It's called cognitive dissonance. So he began to rapidly lose congregants, as you can imagine, because this was a Pentecostal church, and his influence in ministry and the Joint College of African American Episcopal Bishops, and he was eventually and officially declared a heretic in 2004. And there is an issue of Christianity Today magazine that has his picture on the front, and it says, heretic. Yes. Do you love it? Yes. It's so great. This is the integrity of a person who is willing to go against the power structure that he was hugely successful in and had his status in order to preach the truth. He was compelled to teach the truth as he understood it in an evolving way. Does that make sense? So he's a big hero. And he's been struggling for 20 years with prostate cancer that recently came back. So everybody, healing and release from all pain and suffering for Carlton Pearson. You can learn more about his story by watching, next slide, this movie called Come Sunday, starring Chiwetel Ejiofor. It's a wonderful movie, and it's about a biographical film about what happened. Everything you want to know, it's in that movie. It's a great movie. The other modern heretic I want you to know about is the fabulous Rob Bell. Okay, he was born in 1970. He's an American author, speaker, and former pastor, and he founded Mars Hill Bible Church in Granville, Michigan. Does anyone know why it's called Mars Hill? Because when Peter went to Rome, 7 hills, one of the hills is dedicated to Mars. It was a temple to Mars. And when Peter went to Rome, he preached from the temple of Mars on Mars Hill. And he went to the heart of Rome to say, I'm bringing Christianity to the heart of the pagan empire. And so that's why Christians will choose the name Mars Hill. Interesting. Okay, we had a Mars Hill church here in Seattle. Oh, yeah. That's why. I was like, Mars Hill, what the hell is that? And now I know. And he pastored it until 2012. Under his leadership, Mars Hill was one of the fastest growing churches in America with a weekly attendance of 12,000. And he authored a book that was a New York Times bestseller called Love Wins. And in Love Wins, he went, love wins, no one is sent to hell forever, if at all, and everyone will be reconciled with God. So these are 2 brilliant young ministers in traditional Christianity who said, that doesn't make any sense, okay? And and this is the interesting detail. His church had a community art show on the subject of peace. And a person in his congregation had created an art piece that featured Mahatma Gandhi. And someone had graffitied on it, reality check, he's in hell. And that was Rob Bell's crisis of faith. Because he's like, I do not believe that Mahatma Gandhi went to hell just because he didn't accept Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior. Hello, right? So we're in a time where the truth is being revealed. And the other thing, he hosts a podcast. He's very hip. After all that happened, and he was declared a heretic, he moved to Southern California to live on the beach and surf and live with his wife and his 2 kids and have a fabulous life. And he goes around the country doing a kind of stand-up sermon. He was here in Seattle at the Neptune Theater, totally sold out, very young audience. And he was hilarious and very human and very humane. And eventually, it turned out he was talking about the book of Ecclesiastes. You know, to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn. That's Ecclesiastes. And the thing in Ecclesiastes, we've got to thank all the genius Jewish rabbis who wrote Ecclesiastes. Because in Ecclesiastes, the signature phrase is, eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. The evil prosper and the good die young. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. Do good, knowing that everything that you do that is good will disappear in the sands of time. Isn't that great? Take a breath.
Did you go?
I did. It was fantastic. So, what do I want to end with? What I want to end with is I want to bring us to today. So we've looked at all these people. And we looked at a lot of high-flying, very famous people with huge churches. As part of my preparation for the talk today, I called an acquaintance, Michelle Ariano. She is the new executive director of Centers for Spiritual Living. She's been on the job for 4 months. And I wanted to ask her, what is the state today of Science of Mind as a denomination? Would you all like to know?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, great. Because I have been in New Thought congregations, Science of Mind congregations for decades, and we never seem to talk about how is the movement, that we are a part of a movement. Do you realize that Genesis CSL is not just a little piece of flotsam and jetsam, but you're connected to a denomination? Well, here's the stats. There are 798 active ministers, 2,287 active practitioners, serving 246 centers, 46 teaching chapters, 52 focus ministries, and 66 study groups around the world. And I said, now, as I recall, when the two denominations came together in 2011, there were 400 congregations. And now there's 246. And she said, yes, a portion of them folded and a portion of them kind of shrunk back to being teaching chapters. And until now, there was an idea floating around Genesis. Maybe Genesis would become a teaching chapter. If Genesis could not attract a minister, then it would become a teaching chapter because it would be led by practitioners. A teaching chapter can be led by practitioners. A center has to have a minister. But here's the great thing. You know the thing about New Thought, if you work it, and Gail retired, Genesis had a triple whammy. You lost your great space over there at the Christian Science Church. That was a great space. You lost your space through no fault of your own. You're in that horrible Renton Civic Theater.
It wasn't so bad.
Be afraid. Be very afraid. Gail retired fairly quickly, and you were losing money. And through the intelligence of spirit, you got the idea to contact me. You contacted me 1 week after I said, I want a small part-time job where I make $1,000 a month. And a week later, Cal called me and said, would you be interested in being the interim minister? It pays $900 a month plus $150 a week when you speak. And I was like, yes, I would. And I had 3 intentions. That I would get you back, I would help you, it's not all about me, but that I would lead you in getting back to Burien, that I would see your finances go back to black, and you would get a new minister. And today, we are there. And the other thing that I want you to know that Michelle said, she said the typical CSL has 30 participants. So 30, yes. And actually, the statistics are every religious community, regardless of religion or denomination, 50% of spiritual communities in America are 50 people. So we get all dazzled by these mega churches, 45,000 and all that, and large churches can do things that small ones can't. But people don't necessarily want to be part of a big crowd. And I'm not saying this to say smaller church is better. I'm saying there's quality at the size of 30, and there's corruption at the size of 10,000. So the size doesn't matter. It has consequence, but it doesn't matter. And so I place no limit. I want to speak this word right now. I place no limit on what Genesis can or will become. The Beyond Limits class that's going to be happening soon, because one of the things Michelle said was that our denomination is working to really catch up to the introduction of technology and to train people in being able to do classes online, services online, hybrid, where you can have people in person and online. And this Beyond Limits class is going to be just about a mile down the road. Northern Lights has moved to Burien, and they are very skilled and have all the equipment to do a hybrid class. So you can take it online, or you can go there in person. And that is a great thing, right? So think about that. Now, we have a very important piece of business to take care of, and I'm going to say the people in the back row can stand if you wish. I want the rest of you to stay seated, and we're going to invite James up here because I'm going to lead you in a blessing of James, the new minister. So I'm going to put you right here. Okay. Everybody take a breath and extend your hands towards James. Repeat after me. James. James. I see you.
I see you.
I believe in you.
I believe in you.
I bless you.
I bless you.
May you succeed wildly.
May you succeed wildly.
May you minister heartfully.
May you minister heartfully.
May you teach with great inspiration.
May you teach with great inspiration.
Together we claim
Together we claim
a fabulous new chapter
a fabulous new chapter
for Genesis CSL.
for Genesis CSL.
All is well.
All is well.
All is well.
All is well.
We love you.
We love you.
Thank you, God.
Thank you, God.
And so it is.
Thank you for that. It's working. I think we go back to Randy.
Okay.
Actually, I think we have a song.
I think, yeah, we got music. Chris Sullivan, Nathaniel Schleimer, and Jal Feldman.
The wind blows hard against this mountainside, draws the sea into my soul, reaches into where I cannot hide, setting my feet upon the road. Heart is old, hold my melodies. My heart it burns, chill like clay. Somewhere between the soul and soft machine, where I find myself again. Here it is along the road that I must travel. Here it is along the highway in the night. Here it is where I go and will you follow. Here it is along the highway in the night. When I was young, the dreams of growing old. Well, my life would need to be. Now I traveled down my chosen road. Only wish that I could be. Here it is, and down the road that I must travel. Here it is, and through the darkness of the night. Here it is, and where I'm going, will you follow? Here it is, along the highway in the night. Here it is, and all the road that I must travel. Here it is, through the darkness of the night. Here it is, where I'm going, will you follow? Here it is, along the highway in the night. Here it is, all the road that I must travel. Here it is, through the darkness of the night. Here it is, where I'm going, will you follow? Here it is, along the highway in the night. Yeah!
Is that Mr. Mister? All right. Okay. All right, so now it's an opportunity for each of us to fill out a yellow prayer card. I invite you to take a moment and fill out a prayer request. It can be for something inspired by today's service or something else in your heart right now. If you're watching online, you can submit your prayer request to the Genesis website, genesiscsl.org.
Hey, Jal.
It's also a good time to think about our offering that our center is supported by God, and we welcome you to be part of God's support, how God's support shows up. So if you're on Facebook, please visit our website at genesiscsl.org, or you can text your tithe to 206-800-7595, and let us know. Let us take a moment to craft our financial gift. Okay, so let us hold our prayer request and offering next to your heart as we say our offering blessing together. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive, and I am thankful. So now, Gideon will now collect the offering in your prayer cards. While we do that, please stand and sing, God is my source. All right, so I will take this moment to know right here and right now that this offering and these prayers are blessed, and they are put forth into the mind of spirit as it moves through each of us, because we are each perfect demonstrations of God right here on earth, and our thoughts become things and are demonstrate in our lives, and we use our positive energy to just have this positive experience of love, joy, success, and growth and beauty, and it is good. And I say, thank you, God, and so it is. And just so you know, we have hosted events with Reverend Carlton Pearson and Michael Beckwith and Ricky Byers, so Genesis is in on this stuff. So, so thank you for joining us today. Please join us after Spirit for food and fellowship. Wishing everyone a week filled with joy, love, and true connection. Please stand and sing our closing song, I Release.